After 20 years of marriage, we finally asked each other the questions we've been avoiding. Welcome to Grace and Alignment, where we discuss faith, business, and marriage.
On this episode, we'll be discussing how 20 years of marriage we've grown and things have changed. So,
Yeah.
this is part three of our love story. So, just a question for you, Mr. Husband. Um, what area do you think in the last 20 years of marriage,
Yeah.
not necessarily dating, but
Right.
I know we were together for 3 years before we got married, do you think I've grown the most?
Well, you've grown in an area to where, and we had quite a few discussions about it because I noticed, over the years when we be either around people or having conversations with people, maybe when we come and be to ourselves, you would be like, why don't, if I know that, why don't they know that?
Yeah.
So it was a ongoing,
Yeah.
working thing for me to really let you know just because you know it.
And
That
it's
don't
and I
mean,
think, just for clarification, just basic
yeah,
things or basic things. And that was something that I had to get out of my way,
yeah,
right? Like
definitely.
I don't know how to
It
even
did.
elaborate, but I had to give everybody else grace, I
Yeah,
guess.
that's more or less that's what you had to do, and
Right.
it took a lot of times it always take the spouse to be able to tell
Hmm.
their significant other where you everybody are not like you. Nobody's like you. You the
Right.
only one.
No.
You the
And so
only sissy it is. So
yeah.
and that was at first, and I didn't think you was gonna get past it because you was like, why don't they know this?
Yeah.
Sometimes a lot of times people just don't either they don't think about it or they just
Yeah.
might not
And
know certain
I
things.
think, you know, everything is possible
It
with
is.
God.
It is.
Yeah.
So, and with that said, you have in that area you have grown significantly because you don't slow that down and you really, like you said, give people grace and you just
Hmm.
think about it. Well, let me just discuss it with them or whatever, or just to see what they really don't know.
Hmm.
So that's
All right.
great.
Okay.
Yeah. So the same question for you. I want to ask you, where have I grown, within
Hmm.
the 20 years that we've been married and
Yeah.
stuff. So,
I think for you, I would say being in rooms with different people.
hmm
I can just tell a quick story years ago, and I think we were actually dating. It was right
yeah,
before we got married.
yeah,
Um, a couple friend of mine, that you were not familiar with, came into town. We did dinner and,
right,
went to a nice upscale place. And I just don't think I don't know if it was an intimidation factor, but the gentleman, and this was a couple friend from my previous relationship,
hmm
and which he got along great with my ex
right,
husband. Not that I was expecting you to get along great. I
right,
was just a good friend. I was just close to the young lady in the marriage. And I just think what's the word? He was very arrogant.
yeah,
And it was like when we were to dinner, you were just extremely quiet and
yeah,
just not a whole lot to say. And you have a big personality.
yeah,
So I just think that now I see the growth in you. Like I think you can walk in a lot of
Yeah.
rooms. Do you
Yeah.
think that, like,
Yeah.
with the
Any
with the
room
business,
with the
that we share
business or
together?
yeah, I could walk into any room. I just want to elaborate a little bit about,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the couple that you was talking about. So it was a lot of times when somebody's this is coming from me, is arrogant like that. That's the only thing that I could put my finger on about it. So, I was quiet then. So I was taking a lot of stuff in,
Mm-hmm.
feeling, the individual out, and I knew that we didn't really have anything in common
Mm-hmm.
that I could really talk about. But still I was that person then, to where now I'm the person that light up a room when I come in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I've heard that from a lot of my, which I call them family friends, in which they are,
Mm-hmm.
just great people. So,
Right. So do you think, like, with the business, I'll say I see the growth in the business because we wouldn't have been able to capture um, some of these big contracts that we have with these heavy hitter companies,
right,
and these companies that we do business with, they're not just local,
right,
they're global.
right,
They're on the we invest, and what did I just forget? They're
yeah,
on the stock market,
right.
um so when you first said, we're going to go after this particular, company, how did you feel going into a room with these big decision makers?
Well,
How was that for you?
it was great for me because it gave me an opportunity to
Mhm.
really come into myself and just be who I am
Mhm.
initially. So when I go into rooms with people, I give you an example. Even for them, one of my key things that I tried to do is it's simple, but have on a shirt the color of the company that it
Like
is,
part of their brand.
part of their brand.
Part of their
So
brand.
when I went into this room with them, which I'm that person, I had them laughing, joking, just being the person that I am.
And I
So
want
it
to
was
elaborate for the people. It's not just, oh, okay, I'm going to just wear a yellow shirt today. No,
no
we would go to our print person and say, put our logo,
right.
our logo
I
on
missed
this.
that part of it.
Right.
So
And our logo is not bright yellow, it's not
right,
bright orange. So just to give you an example, our branding is red, blue, and white.
yeah,
So that's what he would do.
yeah,
And so immediately, we've all done icebreakers. To me, in my head, like, that's an
it
icebreaker,
is, it is.
you
It was
know,
an icebreaker.
because they would see that.
Yeah,
So I see the growth in that from 20 some odd years ago.
yeah,
And the individual, the couple that we went out with, he was a definitely, they're older,
yeah,
so they were in business probably 5 7 years when you
yeah,
first met them. So he traveled a lot
yeah.
and things like that. So he was
He was
definitely,
definitely an entrepreneur. I mean,
he was a
he is still. Yeah,
businessman. So now that's you.
yeah,
Now you're that businessman.
yeah,
You have, you employ, individuals,
yeah,
you help train, you mentor. So
yeah,
I just think I see that growth from, that point, to the person that when I met you, you came from a small town.
yeah.
I won't talk about some of the stuff you did in a small town. That's for later on, but I see the growth in that with the marriage and as well as the business.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is there years in our marriage where you thought it was tough?
Um, yeah, every I mean, every marriage is going to have some toughs. It could be one tough spot, it could be
Yeah,
10, it could be two, but I
yeah,
would say, um, probably for us, when you left your job, and
right.
that was probably, we've been married probably 4, maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 4. Um, and you just kind of left your job to start I don't know, the
The
business. It
business.
eventually grew into the business. I always say that. He always says the side hustle, but really it was. I mean, you can't. I mean, honestly, and this is nothing. There was no plan, so that's why I
Right.
said just to start something. You just kind of left, and even though you had somewhat of a contract,
Yeah.
anytime it's new in business,
Yeah.
um, it's hard,
Yeah, it is.
right? And so during that time, just so you'll know, I had been laid off.
Yeah.
Um, our son together was barely two
Yeah.
or something like that. So I just think financially it was struggle because the money he was bringing in
Hmm.
didn't match what you were making,
Right.
and I had been laid off. So what I mean, do you think that was a good, like not a good, but a tough time?
It was a tough time. It was a tough time.
Yeah.
But anytime when you doing things out of the norm, in which that's what it was for me because of the security stuff. Of course I was praying,
Mhm.
and I would that's when you pray the most.
Mhm.
When something goes away, a good secure job or whatever, you always be asking God
Yeah.
for something, and that's what he gave me. Because I remember the story that you asked me. You asked me one question, and I that's when I knew then that's what I was gonna do. Because you asked me what was the name I was gonna call it, and it
Mhm.
came to me in seconds.
Mhm.
Nothing that I had to write
Mhm.
down or anything.
Yeah,
It
you
was
did.
seconds when it
That's a
came to
true
me.
story.
Yeah.
But he still didn't have a business plan. He didn't think it out. Um, we lost
This
insurance.
why I love her so
We
much.
lost our medical insurance. There was no plan. And I had been laid off for
Yeah.
what, 4 or 5 months
Yeah.
hunting
For
for
the
a
yeah.
job. So that's why I said, and this was a wilderness for
Yeah.
us.
It
So I
was
would probably, I mean, money was coming in, but it wasn't
the
it.
same.
Yeah, and I would say what, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's when you start using your credit cards just to pay
Yeah.
your utilities and things like that. And so,
Yeah.
I'm gonna pay it back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pay it back, and then it started building.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just true story,
It is
right?
true story.
And then I wasn't really a part of the business for the
Mm-mm.
first 2 years. I would kind of like maybe give you some advice if you
That's
asked,
it.
but I didn't know much
Mm-mm. You didn't really, well, you didn't know much at all because
at
you
all.
really didn't know what I was doing.
I did not know
You didn't
what you
know
were
what I was
doing. I
doing.
mean, I know you were
So,
cleaning cars. I know
yeah.
you had a helper every now and then. I'm like, well, who was this from?
Yeah.
So it was a lot of arguments. It
Yeah.
was a lot of things like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this for our son? Or,
Yeah.
and then you had, the two daughters that didn't live with us, but
Right.
we still need you, financially,
Yeah.
you
I
know, to
still,
take care of them.
right.
So it was a lot.
It was 7 days a week too.
It was 7 days a week that he was here. No, that I was here.
Yeah, and
You
you was
were
out
out
working.
working. So yeah, those were some tough
Those were
times.
absolutely.
Hmm. So Mark 10:9 says, "Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate."
Yes.
So in this verse, Jesus just reinforces the
Yeah.
sacredness and the covenant that he has created for marriage,
Yeah.
and God ordained covenant rather than a legal contract,
Mhm.
but it just emphasizes that if you're tied spiritually,
Yeah.
that you should stay united. So
Absolutely.
just, it's marriage is not easy.
No.
And we added another layer onto it by doing business
I
together.
know.
My God.
We did.
you know.
Oh man.
And we probably said it before in
Yeah.
prior
Video. Yeah.
episodes that we have tons of people. I mean, we're not the only people that do it, but in
Yeah.
our circle, and you guys, when we see you guys, you're
Yeah.
still hugging and you're kissing and you're holding hands.
Yeah.
And do you go to the office
They probably be thinking, oh, she want to kill him.
together? And we are together
We are.
and we love it. It is
We
not
do.
easy, but
No,
that's where the
it's
growth,
great. I
that's
wouldn't trade it in for nothing. What we do and the relationship and the marriage that we have, I wouldn't trade it in for anything in the world. I would.
yeah,
I would.
me either. God
Yeah.
really put us together.
He
He knew what
did.
he was doing.
He
And
did.
I was trying to get out of it
He
at the
did.
beginning.
Oh, you just a runner. I said that before.
So if you liked this about our love story, we're
Yeah,
going to continue it
absolutely.
for next time. So as always, we'll just ask you
Just
to
to
like,
like and
subscribe.
subscribe.
Thank you.